What's up, guys? You have a quarterback in the house, a quarterback you can spare? Do you even care to add another quarterback of any repute? I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is the new live double shot show that comes your way at 4 p.m. Eastern every weekday. And today's episode, unlike a lot of the other episodes this week, is going to be a lot more about questions than it is answers. We've gotten a lot of answers this week. There have been a lot of players signed. There's been some firm movement on pretty much every front related to this franchise. What there isn't is any semblance of a hint of a clue of what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. And I'm going to be honest with you here. I don't care. Like, just my own thing here. I don't care what's good for him, what he wants, how much money he makes on top of what he's already made, how much sand he has between his toes on the Malibu beach or any of that other stuff. I would like to see the Steelers form a real plan at the quarterback position. And hear me out when I say that, because it's going to sound to a lot of you who know about how I feel about Mason Rudolph deserving the opportunity to start. But if Mason's here, and guess what? He is. In fact, only about 10 minutes ago, his signing was made official by the team, which means that all the formality, whatever the physical and all that other stuff's out of the way. 2 years, $8 million, 4.5 of that is guaranteed in the first year. If he's already here, then you know you have someone who can, figuratively speaking, mind the store. You know you have someone who can keep an eye on things. You know you have someone who can run it. From there comes the real plan. From there, you say, okay, let's survey the rest of the NFL. Let's go and get, I can't remember the dude's name from New England that everybody keeps bringing up, but maybe you get him. Maybe you bring in, Hendon Hooker from Detroit. Maybe you look around and see somebody else that you like, somebody who might be not very high on anybody's list, but your scouts think that he's a hidden gem and that if only you do this or that, you can get things done here. Joe Milton is, everybody's coming in now with a name. And then Anthony Picano comes in right away with Joe Milton is terrible. See, that's the thing, though. Milton might be terrible in your eyes. Milton might be a project in somebody else's eyes. Malik Willis might be that. And don't forget, it wasn't that long ago that we were having a debate here between Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis, and who are they going to take? Oh, that was a big deal. It turns out that absolutely everybody from that class has been a bust other than Brock Purdy, obviously. Get somebody like that. Then focus on the draft. Focus on getting a quarterback in the draft. No, it does not have to be in the first round. And in fact, it probably shouldn't be in the first round if you know the structure of it. It can't be in the second round because you gave that pick up for DK Metcalf. So you're talking about either trading down from the first, trading up from the third, or just waiting till the third and getting yourself, name again here, I need your help, old guy from Louisville. It's Tyler something. And it has an unusual. That's it. Tyler Shock in the third, says Jay Moods. You guys are good. Look, give you like co-credit for this show, or co-blame, as it were. Go ahead and put these guys into your environment. Go ahead and set up a situation where you've got now one young quarterback that you've thrown against the wall, another young quarterback that you've thrown against the wall. Mason minds the store. Sees it, and rightly so, as the opportunity that he's been waiting for his whole life. Not that you're doing it to be nice to him. You're doing it because you know how seriously he would take it. Then you get to 2026. And you get another draft pick. And it might be the first rounder. And it might be a really, really big deal right across the river over there. You follow me? I know I've said some of this week. I'm trying to collect these thoughts into one thing, which I think is what the Steelers need to do here. This is a real plan. Chasing the 42-year-old around to hand him $30 million that you could be spending on other reinforcements to help make the team stronger, not just for Rudolph, but also for whichever one of these young quarterbacks could come along and bump Rudolph off the perch. That, to me, is a quarterback plan. If you disagree with that, let me know. If there's something in there that I'm saying that sounds like, well, yeah, that's not feasible, go ahead and let me know. But Richard Page says here, the guy you're trying to explain to everybody is Justin Fields. Not necessarily. Justin would have certainly simplified this specific scenario. But Justin, as I said many, many times, was going to need to improve upon himself. What I liked, and I used this word a million times related to Justin, was his trajectory. I like the fact that he got better in 2024. What I'd like even more is someone who's got the higher ceiling, the younger age, and put them all here, bring them all in, and keep Rodgers the hell out of here. When we come back, going to be joined by Chris Halleck here in-house.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
And joined now by Chris Halleck's microphone, I guess. Oh, no, there he is. See if we can get him in here. Jonathan comes in and says, is there a price that you guys would be content with for Aaron Rodgers? Well, see, to me, it's not just about the contract. I don't even necessarily want him around. I mean, this isn't – Chris, when you're a 4-time MVP, you've won the Super Bowl, you've done like everything, and you're roaming the beaches with a metal detector and bare feet, trying to figure out what – the metal detector is a lie. But you can picture it though, right? With those scenes from the Daily Mail. Okay. Yeah. And you're like wondering, what is the meaning of life, or should I even keep playing? I don't want you on my team. If you're likely to not go to, let's say, summer workouts with the wide receivers, I don't want you on my team. If you're going to be prioritizing hosting Jeopardy or being on Pat McAfee or whatever the hell it is, I don't want you on my team. I don't think this is all that complicated.
Yeah, the part of it that I understand that I agree with is not wanting to do certain workouts with teammates. That part of it I fully understand and agree with.
Why?
I agree with that because like if you are not willing to put in the work with your teammates, I thought
you were agreeing with that. Okay, I'm
no.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. The other stuff, listen. A lot of franchise quarterbacks, and listen, the last one that played for this franchise specifically kind of did some things that, helped stroke the ego a little bit. I mean, the only thing that Ben Roethlisberger did, that Aaron Rodgers did when it comes to like, okay, Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show. Well, Ben had his own radio show once a week.
Which made much bigger waves locally.
And he would use that opportunity to kind of take subtle shots at some things if he needed to. That was his platform to kind of say whatever he needed to say when PR wasn't breathing down his neck. So that part of it comes with the territory of having a future Hall of Fame quarterback that has a big ego. That part of it you just kind of deal with. If he's not, and the one thing that the Steelers have done by signing Mason Rudolph, and more I've thought about this, I've kind of come to this conclusion on it, is that if you want to keep pursuing Rodgers, whatever, you at least have your plan in case that falls through. You have something.
How long are you going to wait? Okay, now the latest stuff is that the Vikings are now holding their breath, hoping that he comes. I don't care about the Vikings either. Okay, I don't even know who the hell their quarterback is now. I guess it's nobody, right?
Well, no, JJ McCarthy would be the guy if they want to give, he was a rookie last year, but didn't play at all because of the.
They can always injury, call the Falcons and ask for Kirk Cousins back.
Yeah.
But if what are you doing? Go ahead and pursue these other guys. And by the way, pursue other football players with that money. It's not like there's no urgency here. Okay. For example, brought up on yesterday's show, the swing tackle concept that you and I discussed over at the Steelers headquarters yesterday. Okay. And you mentioned right away, it doesn't mean that player exists. And I heard from a bunch of, people who were watching this show who said, yeah, I'm not sure who you're referring to because those players are mostly gone. That's why Dan Moore got the money that he did. Now, never mind, you can get people through trades and whatever else here.
Yeah.
But it takes money. One way, however it is that you acquire that player at that need, and I believe that it is a need. I really like Spencer Anderson and his drive and his work ethic and everything. I'm not ready to name him that guy. Are you?
No, I'm not ready to name him that guy. But I also listen, when it comes to this developing offensive line, and it is a developing offensive line, Broderick Jones is about to go into year 3. 3 of the projected starters next year are going to be going into their second year. This is a young, developing line. You got to let them either sink or swim. And if there's ever a year to let somebody sink or swim, it's this year. Because to your point, and what we've been talking about all week at the quarterback situation, they don't have that future quarterback on the roster right now unless Mason Rudolph does become the guy that they drafted that first round grade that they had
to erupt. Yeah, I mean these scenarios do exist. It's not just Geno Smith. These things do happen.
Yep, they do. But
Sam Darnold just did it.
Right. You're going with the chances. Chances are the quarterback of the future, the quarterback for the next 5 to 7 years is not currently on the roster. Going with the chances, not taking anything, not going to put a ceiling on Mason.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So this is the year to do it. If the long-term plan is draft a quarterback in 2026, then this is the year to let Broderick Jones sink or swim. You got to let him play as much as possible to see if he can play, especially now that he's going to be moving to his natural side. It's like we drafted him to be our left tackle.
Get it done.
Now you got to play because if you pull the plug on him after 7 or 8 games, you've pretty much just went ahead and said, okay, well, that first round pick was a complete failure. You got to let him play.
Sebastian Sanchez says it's funny how everybody complains about Rodgers' age, but they would still salivate over a 50-year-old rookie. If you're referring to 50. He's not 50. He's exactly half that, which is still old for a rookie.
It is.
But I don't think it's a matter of salivating over him. Why do people have to use these extreme terms? What is the obsession over? What is the, come on, man, just talk. Like, we're just talking football here. Okay.
Yeah. There is a sector that wants to take him like in round 2. And that's just, I think that's way too high.
Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. My point with the quarterback in the draft, and for that matter, the quarterback that you would acquire from another team is that do your work. Okay. Do your digging. Okay. This is something I've been preaching to Penguins fans a lot lately as it relates to, oh no, they need to stop winning so much because Penguins have won 3 in a row. They need to lose and they need to move up in the draft. No. How about this? Scout harder, do a better job than all the rest of the teams in the NHL in finding your best player available. The Steelers, they just need to commit their resources as an organization. We always talk about Omar, to a lesser extent, Andy Weidel, even throw Mike Tomlin into these things. There's an army of people over there. Chris, we see them. They don't make their way into the limelight, okay?
Yeah.
There is an army of professional scouts, and by that, I don't mean that they get paid. I mean that they scout the NFL. They are the ones digging through teams' practice squads to see who might be hidden, what kind of footage there might be of so-and-so making passes on the practice squad or whatever. Get to work. Find out who these people are. Go get Belichick to find some spy cams for you. Do whatever you got to do. But find these players. Dig through the CFL if you have to. Does arena ball still exist? Go get the next Kurt Warner. Okay? Only get him a lot younger.
Right.
Okay? But do what you got to do. And the same thing applies to the draft. Get yourself not 1, but 2 young quarterbacks.
Yeah, I had a thought, and it kind of escaped me.
I see everybody's talking about Nate Herbig. I don't know anything about this. Did he sign somewhere else?
Yeah, I was in the process of adding a whole bunch of stuff to the feed all at one time. So Nate Herbig signed with the Commanders, so that kind of takes away an option for interior backup,
and including, by the way, as a backup center, which means there's another position that the Steelers will have to replace.
Well, they did bring in Ryan McCollum. They brought
Ryan
back
McCollum can handle center, but that's it. I know everybody got all excited, and they should have, because he was really good as backup center. But that's the only thing that he can do.
I think you need one more offensive lineman for sure. Like Spencer Anderson can play either guard or tackle. You have McCollum as a center, and obviously you have your starting five. They need at least one more because they won't dress any more than 8 offensive linemen on a Sunday anyway. But so they need one more offensive lineman that can play NFL snaps. That it's not like we're gonna give him a helmet and we're gonna be crapping our pants if he's gonna be stepping on the field.
I mean, there's they need to excuse me. They need to add some players.
Yeah.
And with all due respect to the 5 that they brought in to meet with us yesterday, I don't know that that's necessarily it. I do think corner to an extent has been addressed.
Yeah.
If you trust that Darius Slay can continue his pace of coverage that he had last year, and I don't know if he will or he won't. I do know that when the end comes for the professional athletes, it tends to come really quickly, and not in a predictable way. But there are positions that need to be addressed, and you're going to need money to do that. And you're going to need money, by the way, as long as I'm at it, to extend TJ Watt. You're not letting TJ go into a walk season. You're just not.
No, but the one thing that you can do with TJ Watt whenever you give him his extension is that it can actually improve the cap this year, because right now his cap hit is going to be $30.4 million, which is the highest. It was also that last year, but those are the 2 highest cap hits from the way the last contract was structured. And by the way, that contract was restructured. And by the way, just a little side note here, when a contract is restructured, don't think that that's Omar Khan kicking the can down the road. When they give out these big contracts, they know exactly how they're going to structure them so that they can restructure them later. They already are planning to restructure it at a certain point. It's just whether or not they pull the trigger. So you can actually sign TJ to an extension and lower that $30.4 million cap hit to spread out over the course of the 4-year contract, 5-year contract, however long of a deal he gets. And you can give him that, and you can lower the cap hit, help the cap this year, and sign him to a $38 million a year, whatever it is, contract, in order so that he's right in the same ballpark as Myles Garrett, who just got a big deal.
Katie and several others are pointing out to me, and it's fair, that Wheeling, West Virginia, in the same place where the Nailers play, has an Arena League team. I don't know if there's differences in levels of arena football. Is there a minor league? Is there a major league?
I honestly have no idea.
I have no idea.
The only other football I somewhat pay attention to was the now combined league of the XFL. It's the spring football that goes on, but even then,
that still exists.
Apparently, yeah. I barely keep tabs on it. There's just so much, because between covering a professional NFL team and then also watching as much college football as I have to watch so that I can be better prepared for the draft the next year, like that to me is enough. Like all the draft homework that I'm doing right now, good Lord.
Greg comes in with some compliments and says that you and I are both highly informed, that you never make proclamations that this is what I think and here's why. Actually, you do that all the time, Greg. Sorry.
But it's based
on something, Yeah. That's the goal here. I mean, I think, when it comes to opinion doesn't set you apart as you're discredited.
Yeah.
It's the difference is that there's opinion that's informed opinion that comes from actually being around the team and having these people share stuff with you, as opposed to just, like a lot of the radio people do. They show up an hour before the show. They start scribbling out their hot takes. They're not actually covering anything. They're not talking to anybody. And then the show starts and it's just hot take, hot take, hot take. Who's a better basketball player, LeBron James or Michael Jordan? Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I'm sure there's an audience for that. Okay. And if that's you, great. But that's not our thing here. Clay says there's a question for Chris. If the Steelers have another pick 2021 in the first round next year, what moves do you think the Steelers could make to get a quarterback high enough on day one?
Well, the best thing is right now they're stockpiling compensatory draft picks with all these free agents leaving to go elsewhere. And so when you get that many picks, if they end up with 2 third-round picks, 2 fourth-round picks, 2 fifth-round picks in next year's draft, I'm not saying it's only going to take picks to move up, but that could be part of it. Instead of having to give up maybe instead of giving up a first-round pick in the next year, whatever it is, to move up 10 spots, 12 spots, whatever you need to do to get in firing range of a quarterback that you like. Maybe you can give up a second rounder. Maybe you can give up a second and a third, or maybe if you do have to give either way, it gives you more ammunition. I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend to be a GM and figure out what it takes to move up. But what I do know is that there will be more ammunition to move up because they're going to have a lot of draft picks next year. That's a great thing. So that's one of the ways you can do it. And then if you have to trade away a first-round pick, that's what the Chiefs did to get Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs went 12-4, were the number 2 seed in the AFC, and moved up. I think it was like 17 spots to go get Patrick Mahomes because they thought that he was going to be their quarterback of the future. And they hit a freaking home run on that.
I'll tell you what, guys, you ever want to make sure, like really sure your question gets answered on this show? Come through with $100. Okay. Okay, that will do it. That'll get you
making it rain. Wow.
I'll actually bring Mario Lemieux in person to answer the question for you himself. My goodness. That's appreciated. Everybody who contributes to the show, by the way, small and large and whatever. We never make any secret about why we're in business. We're in business to be in business. S4000, who's been a regular both here and with the Ramon Foster show for a long time, says, hey, DK, why didn't the Steelers pay Rudolph the $30 million that we were going to give to Fields? Rudolph saved this team from Kenny Pickett, and I thought he was going to be quarterback 1 after 2023. Okay, you want to know who happens to agree with that stance of yours? Rudolph. I see again now. We're going to get Mason on the show, and Mason's going to come in here. And I'm going to tell Mason, hey, S4000 thought that you should have gotten Fields' $30 million, and he's going to say, well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. As it was, in all seriousness, Mason got a deal that he felt was fair. Mason's thing was that he wanted that up front. Whenever they were talking about the structure, he got, what did he from Tennessee last year? 2.875 on a 1 year. Now think about this, because that was more than what he was getting before. And that was after he had those games that the whole football world watched. Okay. And he goes out to the open market, and the Titans come in with really the only offer. And even that was to be Will Levis's backup. And they pay him a little bit more. Now the Steelers go higher than that. Now, you can argue from a percentage standpoint that they go significantly higher than that. He got 2 years, which I don't know that he would have gotten somewhere else. He got the guaranteed money, which I don't know that he would have gotten. So, yeah, Mike says I should be Mason's agent. I mean, what's 10% of whatever the hell he got? I'll take
it. Seriously.
We should just leave. Seriously, S4000's question should just stay up for the entire rest of the show. Dude, man. That's awesome.
$100.
Taking a quick breather here to go through some of the memberships that have shown up here. Carol comes in and gifts 10. That's appreciated, Carol.
Yes.
In his various different monikers, the barber comes in, like with this one with 5. And then Barber thinks we don't know that this is all him. There's another 5. Victory Asher, who asks some of our best questions here, comes in with 10. David Kranak does likewise. Carl Spackler does likewise. For anybody who's wondering the way this works, if you see these gifts on here and you think you have to do something to get them, you don't. Just YouTube just assigns them. That's all. Not that we wouldn't like to have you in as a permanent member as well here. Stella Fierce. More from this is all Barber. I see what he's up to here. Sean Nancaro comes in with I think this is a pretty good question, Chris. As Arthur Smith brought the best out of Ryan Tannehill, why not let him do the same with Mason Rudolph, meaning as a starter, presumably?
Yeah, I mean, again, if the plan falls through with Rodgers, if he decides to go elsewhere, retire, or whatever he wants to do, and you don't have any better options, why not? You know the one thing that here's what we know about Mason. He's number one. He started more than enough games to know that he can start. He can make starts in the NFL. He has won meaningful games. That 3-game stretch. The Steelers needed to win all 3 games in order to make the playoffs. I mean, you talk about pressure. That's pressure. That's almost the same. It's not obviously the same because we still talk about 8 straight seasons without a playoff win, but it's almost the same as having to win a playoff game because they don't get to the playoffs without those 3 wins. So
David Kranek says, sorry, Chris, have we done enough on defense to keep Minkah Fitzpatrick from lining up in the end zone? And I don't think David's referring to one of the other teams in the red zone. That's where Minkah starts out whenever the other team gets the ball off the kickoff. Did Minkah have a voice in that last year? Before I throw it to Chris on the first part of it, I want to take the second part myself. Minkah has a voice in everything. Okay. Minkah is a defensive coach on the field, not just because of his raging intellect. And I am not being facetious when I say that. This is someone who has an unbelievable football mind, who I believe is going to continue in football deep into his life. He's not going to be one of those guys that runs off and just goes partying, from his 30s onward. Minkah is a football, not junkie, genius. Okay. No. That's how, in addition to his athletic ability, he was able to make the plays that he was whenever he was all pro and considered. So did Minkah have a role in this? I can promise you, knowing Minkah's personality and how outspoken he was to get out of Miami when he didn't like how he was getting used, that Minkah was in agreement with this. Now, whether that'll apply into next year, I don't know. This was tough. This was tough on him too.
Yeah, it was. And for anybody who didn't watch Hard Knocks, what that show actually revealed was that there are meetings that are had in which it's Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin and a couple of the other coaches, and then Minkah is the only player in there.
Yeah.
So
you can't not have him. He has too much to offer.
Exactly.
Do you remember the play? Speaking of film stuff, it was an NFL film shot.
Yes.
Minkah was hurt. You know what I'm going to say here. Mm-hmm. You might even remember the specific play. I don't. It was something where the Steelers were defending their goal line, and they went out of a formation that Minkah thought they should have been in. He's just standing there on the sideline. He's not playing. He can't play. And Minkah's getting really, really upset with the coaching staff. They called a timeout. Yeah. They called a timeout because Minkah was upset. They went back to what Minkah wanted. They got an interception.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's him on the sideline.
He's going to be a good coach one day. He's going to be one of those.
He might be better than good.
He's going to be one of those rare people that are a really great player and a really good coach. Because a lot of the times good coaches are not great players. Mike Tomlin was a terrible player. But he's turned into a really good coach. I mean, it's just, yeah. But no, my theory behind Minkah last year was they didn't have the cornerback play that they needed, especially when you're considering Dante Jackson and what they had in the slot in order to really allow Minkah to roam closer to the line of scrimmage or just closer to the box or 10 yards from whatever it is, that he pretty much had to be. I love the way Matt Williamson puts it, the firefighter back on defense, putting out fires all over the place. The way he paints that picture.
That didn't even really happen, Chris.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, that was the thing that is if you think about the plays where the Steelers did get beaten over the top, and a lot of that happened, not a lot. I don't want to overstate this on Dante Jackson's side. He did have the picks that he had, but he also gave up some plays.
Yep.
Minkah wasn't there to prevent that. What Minkah does that the coaches love, if we're all being honest here, is he just cuts the football field in half. the quarterback looks, there's Minkah, I'm not throwing there. So you only have to defend this part. But that doesn't mean that Minkah's an option to help you defend that part. He's too far away.
Yeah. No, it's he can't ball hawk if he's 25 yards off the line of scrimmage. Like
Cody says he didn't make a single play last year. That is false.
That is very, 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 very false.
He made plays. We're going to do Minkah one day. Okay. I don't know that this is going to be the day. But I want to try to add something to Sean's question here about Arthur Smith, Ryan Tannehill, and Mason Rudolph. And I reported this in our Friday Insider on DK Pittsburgh Sports today, that the Steelers have actually discussed inside about the similarities between Rudolph and Tannehill, and in particular, Mason's ability to hold the pocket. Mason also, and I think this was an underappreciated aspect of his play, says his agent, in the waning weeks of the 2023 season, he also would step up in the pocket. You know who loves when quarterbacks step up? The linemen. Oh, the linemen are just like, oh, please, can you just step up? You're killing us here. Just move out. How long do you think we're going to hold this pocket for you, dude?
Yeah.
Don't just collapse and don't run out of there if you're 37 years old thinking that you're still 27. Okay?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to go anywhere. Mason knows who he is. Let's put it that way.
My favorite play from that 3-game stretch was the play in Seattle in which Mason literally, he didn't have the ability to step up in the pocket because there was no pocket to step up. Yeah, he literally had nowhere to step up. It was all arm, but he stood there and he didn't waver. He knew that he was going to take his shot. He saw he had enough.
He got creamed. And you want to know something? We're in Seattle to cover that game.
Yeah,
the press box was like at an angle from where the throw was coming. Okay.
Yep.
By the way, the Seahawks have an actual Starbucks
in the
back of their press box. Okay,
You've talked about that.
This is what you know what the gold standard is for press boxes in professional sports. Mason is holding on, and he puts this ball up. You guys know what I'm talking about, but I'm just going to share that when the ball came out of his hand, and it was like a rainbow, okay, kind of like a straight up line, and you're going, where the heck is that going? What was that all about, right? Why did he do that? And George just keeps going. And you know how the confidence you feel as a follower of this team when you see George running onto a football, like you just think there's no way he's not going to catch it, right?
Yep.
All you're thinking in this one is, wait a second, was that intentional? Did he actually put that ball up for George? And George runs under it. They were both, after the game, both Mason and George really justifiably proud of that. But the real point of pride was that Mason held the pocket. How do people forget this stuff and remember 2019? Chris, how does that happen?
I think 2019.
How negative do you have to be going back 6 years?
Yeah. No, 2019 was just I think it just, that entire season kind of burns in people's brains just because.
I know, but I mean, it's been a while.
But
how do you not remember the most recent good thing that you saw?
Yeah. No,
I think the last time Pittsburgh saw Rudolph, he was really, really good.
Yep. I agreed. And that's why I think that if things don't work out with Aaron Rodgers and you have to ride into the season with Mason Rudolph as QB1 in week 1, I'm intrigued. And like I said, I think it's a high floor move. That's the way I've been putting it, and that's the way I'm going to continue to put it. I think it's a high floor move. I think you avoid a catastrophic season. I don't know if you become a Super Bowl contender or a legitimate playoff contender, but I don't think you go 6-11 either.
Yeah, Deborah is asking, didn't you say there was something that you were told about the Steelers reaching out to Mason, that there was a connection between Rodgers and Mason? Yeah, that was the original the original outlook on this. What the Rudolph camp was told was that they're waiting on Rodgers. And then, Wednesday morning comes along and, maybe they looked in the Daily Mail and saw, Rodgers contemplating life or whatever the heck he was doing out there. Notice I'm still waving the metal detector on the beach. And they were like, we're going to get Mason anyway, because we're going to get him either as a backup or as support or something. So that's, if you're wondering if anything changed in there, yeah, another couple of days passed. That's what changed. Doctor here comes in and says, I was really down on Mason too, but the guy worked his butt off and got better and earned my respect. The question, Chris, because we heard Mike Tomlin say something similar late in that time, it was just, he did so much behind the scenes, and that just earned so much respect from the team. Because remember, when you're the 3, which Mason was for a lot of that time behind Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky, when you're the 3, you're not even taking regular Pittsburgh offense snaps. You're running scout team. You're pretending you're the quarterback for the other guys.
And you don't even get the chance to dress in an emergency helmet. Like it was in 2022. Remember, that was before they came up with the whole the inactive quarterback can also be the emergency third quarterback in case the first 2 quarterbacks get injured. That wasn't like that. If you had 2 active quarterbacks and then that third quarterback sat up in the press box or wherever else and was not, or he probably wasn't sitting up he was on the sideline, but he wasn't in uniform and he had no chance to play. So yeah, I think it was that entire season he didn't get a helmet at all. Because I think it was either Kenny or Mitch that entire season. So
the AFL says, I can only hope that the deal falls through with Rodgers. I mean, there isn't any negotiating going on. So I don't know what deal there is that would fall through.
They're waiting on.
I will ask this, though, Chris, if they're waiting on him and it looks like it's endless, at what point can the Steelers just draw a line? And then from there, how would they make that known? Like, you don't put out a press release that says Steelers are officially no longer interested in Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I guess they can just communicate it, to people like us behind the scenes or whatever. But it's just, it would still be really awkward. Something has to happen on the Rodgers front, and I'm really hoping it happens with some other team, and the Steelers get stripped of this act of stupidity or potential act of stupidity. Just take it. You take the option away from them.
I agree. There's still a small part of me that's a little intrigued by it, a little bit, because there's still that chance that because of the weapons the Steelers have, because they are going to draft a running back. I'm gonna put it out there. They are going to draft a running back.
They are actually. And
I mean, they've already hosted 2 in the 30 allotted pre-draft visits. Today was Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. They had previously hosted another one. No, I don't remember. No, DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. So they are going to draft a running back. So they were going to have weapons. Oh, and by the way, they hosted Kyle Juszczyk, 9-time Pro Bowl fullback, who can do a lot more than play fullback. And if he signs with the team, I mean, we're talking about weapons.
He's an actual fullback, by the way. Yeah. He's not one of these tight end Connor Hayward types. No. Our good friend, the PEF, comes in and says, if you're really deciding, I actually do this. I'm going to do my PEF imitation here. If you're really deciding between playing for the Steelers or the Giants this hard, I am questioning your decision-making already. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you can say to yourself, well, listen, so-and-so, they have career earnings of, let me just do a Google here. Aaron Rodgers career earnings. Let's see what it shows up.
If the Giants are offering significantly more money, man, that's enough to get somebody to think.
So Rodgers' career earnings just in the NFL, never mind what he got for hosting Jeopardy, it's $380 million. So if you are waiting to see if Pittsburgh, New York, or Minnesota offers you an additional 5, I don't want you on my team. I saw somebody here, I think I actually had it started, that said DK just doesn't like Rodgers. First off, I don't know him. I'm sure that I've been in a room with him, several times over the course of the years, and I covered him in a Super Bowl once, obviously. But this isn't about liking or not liking or whatever. This is just something that does not make sense from the perspective of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think to an extent, without getting dramatic about it, I think they're embarrassing themselves here. Make a quarterback plan and go for it.
I think again, when you look at, I remember the way Mike Tomlin spoke at the end. It wasn't this past season's end of season press conference, but it was the year before. And the way he spoke about wanting to win for Cam Hayward and for TJ Watt, because Marquise Pouncey never got to win.
Mm-hmm.
Because Marquise Pouncey didn't get to play in that confetti game, the way Mike Tomlin likes to put it. And I think that's probably the most contrite I've ever seen Mike Tomlin. And I think that really genuinely weighs on him. And so I think when he sees a potential option in which Aaron Rodgers, we know whenever he's playing at he's not who he used to be. But if he's 80%, 85% of what he used to be, that is a really, really good quarterback still in this league. It's a gigantic risk because of his age. It's a gigantic risk because Father Time is undefeated. It even took down Tom Brady. Like, it's a gigantic risk. The season could either be another Peyton Manning with the Broncos or Brett Favre with the Vikings, or it could be a complete catastrophe and they win 3 games. So but when you're that motivated to try to win, sometimes you might do some desperate things. Now, again, I don't think desperate decisions need to be made, but I think that's why they're considering it, because they're looking at the potential of it and knowing the weapons that they're going to have. That's the way I'm viewing it right now.
Last word for the day in this segment goes to Danny Johnson, who says we allowed Ben Roethlisberger to dictate when we brought in his replacement, and now we're paying for it. We're being specific here, and heaven knows I have an unbelievable amount of respect for what Ben did in his NFL career, but the way he reacted when Mason came along was just not okay.
100%.
And for Ben to go public right after that and talk about how they should have instead put the pick into a replacement for Ryan Shazier and whatever else. No, man, you don't do that. And then you don't work with Mason. You don't help him get better. You don't even talk to him. That was not okay. There's a lot of people who want to see Mason get a real chance, and not just because of the sappiness of the storyline. Chris, appreciate you being here, and we will do this again on Monday. And Chris is still there. No, he's not there. Okay, our goal is 3,000 members. That's the point that I really want to make today, more than any other, because what's our number now? Do you have it? She's going to look it up here while I go through these. I'd be remiss if I didn't begin this segment by pointing out that we had a questioner come in and drop $100. That's appreciated. We did really well with the question, I hope. Like, we gave you the best answer to any question you've asked all day of anybody. Lots of gift memberships coming in. Did today. Carol, the barber, in his various forms. Vic came in. Carl, David, going through the names here. Stella came in with 10. I'm pretty sure Brent came in as well. All of this is appreciated, as are our longtime members, like the esteemed Pef coming in, and they all, they all add up. No one comes in with just $1. That's appreciated, my man. The way this is working is we're trying. Oh, okay. So the number, as you can see down there, is 1,249. Now, that number was, as of our little drives opening a couple of weeks ago, 745. So it's
621.
She says 621, but I don't think so.
YouTube says 621.
Oh, that's because YouTube doesn't account for the number that gets lost when they do that. Yeah. So, but the net, right. But the net plus on this is 504. I just did that in my head. Okay. So we've had 504, a net gain of plus 504 members in that time. And that's really, really cool. If we can pull this off, get 3,000 before training camp. Somebody else asked earlier in the show on the subject of business, whether or not we would ever do shows like this on the Penguins and the Pirates. It's a different audience. In the case of the different audiences, I should say, Yes, it's Pittsburgh, so all of our teams have the same first name and the same set of colors. Only city in the world that has that, by the way. But the fan bases, the Steelers are a really, really large base that is spread over a really, really large planet. That's the way this goes. And we've seen the demographic breakdowns of the people who watch this, and it's just everywhere. Less than half of those, by the way, inside the city. And I don't mean the city of Pittsburgh. I'm talking about the entire region. Where the Penguins are concerned, the Penguins are of local interest. They do really, really well locally. But that is obviously a smaller number than the planet. And in the Pirates case, just calling this like it is, in the Pirates case, the fan base tends to be not just older, but a lot older. Why? I mean, common sense. The Pirates were last good. The only people who remember the Pirates winning a championship, I was 13 years old. So you can go ahead and do the math on my age there. But it's difficult to build up a real intense affinity for that particular team because of the economics of baseball, because the owner is cheap. And, they've had 3 winning seasons or 4 winning seasons in the past, 33, something like that, going back to 92. So it's a different vibe. For now, this is the way this show is going to be. If we end up doing different things, I'm looking here I'm not sure what this reference is here. Coty says, do you think the DK Pittsburgh Sports beat writer doesn't have the full story? What did Steve say? Now I'm curious. Oh, Steve says, you're unfair to Ben in your comments. That's not the whole story. Actually, Steve, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'm not guessing at that. And again, I'm not somebody who is the anti-Ben or whatever. Ben knows that. Okay, I have a ton of respect for what he's done in the NFL. And we had a terrific, I'd like to think, professional relationship. I am free to criticize the way he handled the Mason situation at the outset. And I'm also accurate in it. So don't worry about that sort of thing. Last question for the day. The last question for the week goes to TJ, who says, would it be that bad to just hand the reins to Mason? I feel like he's earned it. And if he flops, we get draft capital next year. I want to be careful with the whole he's earned it thing. And I see a lot of the Mason redemption story and everything else like that. Don't make this about pianos and violins, okay? Make this about Mason being someone who plays in the same mold as Ryan Tannehill. Make this about how he fits into the Arthur Smith offense. Make this about how hard you know for a fact he'll work with his teammates, okay? That's what this needs to be about. It doesn't have to be, even though his name is Rudolph, it doesn't have to be a Rudy story. Okay. It has to be about what's best for the team. In my opinion, in this whole set of circumstances, it's about what's best for the team based on what we have right there in front of us. Thanks to everybody for being with us, for supporting the live format of this show. We had no idea how it was going to go when we switched to live. It's been a pretty nice success for us. And we will be back with another one of these on Monday.